Welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Crunch. Today we have Thomas Affolter and Nathan Affolter.
Saturday Morning Cartoon.
Thomas has been writing, producing, and directing award-winning films since he was a teenager and has directed over 50 short films, TV episodes, commercials, music videos, web series, etc., etc., etc. And he is an editor and cinematographer. Nathan,
Hi.
over here, is an award-winning animator and filmmaker whose films have played worldwide, including the Cannes International Film Festival. He has animated and storyboarded shows for Cartoon Network, for Adult Swim, for Fox, such as Ren and Stimpy and Rick and Morty.
Oh my God, can I touch you? just.
You guys are all into stop motion.
True.
That's the whole Foreshadow Films. This is the name of your company, Foreshadow Films.
Four brothers coming together to make some fun entertainment.
And some shadows, some dark shadows.
What the hell?
And recently you married your love of cartoons and breakfast cereals, which is something that we can all relate to, with your short, which was called...
Soggy Flakes.
And tell us about that.
It was because of Tellus. Sorry.
Let's tell us. I mean,
go.
people who are outside of Vancouver or BC might not know it. Right?
Oh, that's true. That's true. What is Tellus?
What is Telus? They're a very large communications corporation. Phones and internet, TV, that type of stuff. Cable, you know.
Yep.
So Telus is huge. And they have a program called Story Hive that's like basically to help up-and-coming filmmakers of all varieties make content. It's basically like an engine, an incubator for original content from up-and-coming talent.
So you guys applied for the grant.
Yeah. They have an animation category. They chose 10 different shorts. I think they had 100 or somewhere in there. Like different people submit. You submit a little pitch.
Yeah.
You try and get all your friends to vote for it. And then they have a jury that decides who gets the grant money. You produce it, and then they select a winner out of all that.
So at what point is the gladiator battle happen? Because I know that you guys did so well because there's 4 of you, so and your brothers, so you
tag team on,
fight as like a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
Like the Ninja Turtles. The short is how many minutes long?
5.
Yeah, and it had to be 5 or under for Tellus.
Okay, so you really pushed it right to the very end.
We did. That was really hard to do, actually.
Yeah.
We ended up cutting 2 characters. We had flashback sequences for some of them.
Right.
So much was cut just to get it down, because we also had to have 30 seconds for the credits at the end. There's a little bit of a commercial, a breakfast cereal commercial at the beginning.
That was like traditional animation, wasn't it?
Yep. So John and I did all the 2D animation for that. Thomas and Heath are trained in live action, and then my brother John and I are trained in animation. So stop motion kind of brings those 2 worlds together.
Right.
In a fun way.
And so the story is that there's kind of washed up cereal mascots who are just hanging around in this diner or whatever and reflecting about the old days kind of a thing.
Yeah, like an unofficial support group type thing where they all gripe about the golden era of breakfast
Golden
cereal,
graham area.
which is now gone because the health food craze, gluten-free and
Right.
low carb and all that has put them all out of work.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and
for
there's Captain.
Yeah, Captain Kale. Yeah, who's like the antagonist, their frenemy, as we say. Who's used to be one of them, a breakfast cereal mascot. Now he's sold out and reps a health food cereal company, Kale Flakes.
Right.
And Captain Kale is still successful and popular.
Was he did they never mention it? Was he supposed to be Captain Crunch before that, or?
Basically that kind of
For
thing.
trademark purposes, not Captain Kale.
I mean, no.
but
Captain
he was a
Crispy.
sea captain.
His cereal was Sugar Me Timbers.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And he was he was still captain, but he was a ship captain.
Right.
Right.
Definitely.
And now he's
not
a superhero.
Captain Crunch.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a camera nerd and I love gear, and I'm stop motion is so cool, but how did you shoot it? What kind of camera did you use? Do you use real lights like for film? And
Yeah, totally. So all the lighting is the standard, the way you do it with an actual film. It's basically the more lights, the better your image can look.
Yeah.
Not to say you always want to just flood everything with light, but the more powerful the lights are, the lower the
ISO.
ISO, and also we need to stop down a lot, shoot at a high f-stop
Right, so that would means more stuff's in focus, which is weird
Yeah.
because in film you're like usually trying to ride the line of.
Yeah, the opposite of that. Yeah, totally. And you watch like Social Network or some directors like Fincher like love stuff that's like as shallow as possible. Like they shoot the whole movie at like an F like 1-2
And
or
it's
like
just
an
like
F2,
just
and
their
it's like-
eyes in
yeah,
focus.
so little in focus. But with stop motion, because everything's miniature, if you shoot like that, then stuff ends up looking more like it's a miniature because it's
Yeah.
like you're often zoomed in, you're on a longer lens on stuff, which makes it even shallower the depth of field. So you don't want to shoot it to make it look like you're shooting something small. So shooting at a higher f-stop, you still get the like background out of focus and all that stuff, but you can get like the whole character's face in focus, and it makes it feel more like you're shooting a life-size set and characters as opposed to shooting miniatures. The same way they shoot miniatures for like special effects, like The Lord of the Rings or like
really?
Blade Runner 2049, anything that's using like miniature, and they used to use them all the time, of course. But when they shoot miniatures, they have to shoot them at like a crazy large depth of field to make everything in focus, basically to make it feel like they're shooting an entire city as opposed to like something as big as like this room type thing. Yeah.
Wow, that's really neat.
Which can be hard when you're animating too, because the characters go out of that depth of field so easily. You want to make them like, antic back and like come forward and all this stuff. But as soon as you start going too far, if you want it to be sharp still, you have to like adjust. Slowly. And then if you adjust, we kind of learned over the time, like it's better to like do a little bit of an animated adjust. Don't just like just one frame, because then it like kind of pops the background.
Right.
So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky with that.
And what were the cereals that we got? Kale flakes.
Yep.
We got Sweetie Wheaties.
Sweet wheat.
Sweet wheat.
Sweet wheat.
Yeah,
Okay.
Miss
We're all like,
Sweetie.
I don't know what word they
Very
We
delicious.
got very delicious.
Yeah.
And
What do we forget?
Fun
Frosties.
Frosties.
Frosted Fun.
Frosted Fun.
There's a little miniature one here.
Those cereals don't exist, obviously.
What?
No, unfortunately.
Not yet.
They're just very
But
small.
if Soggy
You
Flakes
finish
gets
in
big
one bite.
enough,
Yeah.
maybe,
Right. Yeah.
maybe we'll get some cereals. But until then, we'll have to go with some analogs. So you guys want to try some shredded wheat or some Frosted Flakes? You choose.
Excellent. A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I'll mix them together.
Oh my God!
Oh, you guys are freak shows.
I know, right?
Actually, our parents always made us mix the cereals because they're like, you can't have just a whole bowl of sweet.
Right.
They also talked like that because they were from like the old newsy time.
Isn't that what everybody born in like the 50s sounds like?
So we would have to mix. We're like, oh, you can't have nothing but a sweet cereal, like very delicious. We would have to put a little bit of like Cheerios in there. And in the end, nowadays, it's
Boring
like, is it
old
really
Cheerios.
that much different?
Well, I remember because one of your characters totally did what I did when I was a kid, which is like Frosted Flakes, and then you're like
Putting
dumping
more
sugar on top.
Yeah, that's Leon for you. He's a sugar nut.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Let's
All right.
do this.
All right.
Great, guys.
Are we starting?
Yes, we
It's
are.
nice and
Okay.
boring.
Cheers. I
Cheers.
brought my own spoon.
Oh, an official
Says
Soggy Flakes.
Soggy Flakes on there. You can get a
Nice.
close-up of that later.
Absolutely.
My buddy at steelwool.com made this up for me.
Steel wool.
Steel wool.
That's a good
Cheers. Thanks, Clay.
Well, today we're trying the classic Kellogg's Frosted Flakes
Holy
with
fuck.
Tony the Tiger. And I noticed on this box, he's strangely silent about the greatness
Yeah.
of the
Did he used to
cereal.
have like a little speech bubble or something?
Didn't it used to say they're great on the box, or maybe I'm misremembering.
yeah.
But yeah, a classic. So they don't really make any weird variants of Frosted Flakes.
Tony won't allow it. He's a purist.
Yeah,
No?
I'll put that there.
Are you going to argue with a giant anthropomorphic tiger?
That's true, though. They don't have any weird ones, like colored, or what else would they do? Add marshmallows?
Yeah, they could make colored ones. They could do all sorts of things.
Yeah, Rice Krispies, they're just always like, here's Christmas Rice
That's right.
Krispies, and we'll
Rice,
anything
rice,
to buy Rice Krispies.
Christ me's.
Yeah.
When's the last time everyone's had Frosted Flakes?
I think the last time I had it was during the shoot, actually. We got a bunch of like those little mini boxes for our crew and everybody to eat as this little fun
Right.
snack and stuff like that. And
Fun snack.
Fantastic.
Probably 20 years.
Wow.
yeah?
Yeah.
I think the last time I had this, I was renting Sega Genesis games for the weekend, and like I would eat cereal and play rental video games.
Nice.
So that should tell everybody about how long ago.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. Let me
Oh,
tell
yeah.
you.
So, what are your guys' favorite cartoons from your childhood?
From childhood, I think I would have to narrow it down. I don't know if I can pick a favorite, but Beetlejuice, Ghostbusters, and Ninja Turtles.
Wow.
Those were like go-to ones.
Which Ghostbusters?
Oh, the real Ghostbusters.
Not that horrible
Yes.
cheese.
Yes, none of that. No. I mean, hey, to each their own. I know some people like it.
He loves the not real
I didn't say.
Ghostbusters.
No, I think it was-
the fake Ghostbusters. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
And I was a different generation. That's how you can tell Nathan's the oldest brother and I'm the youngest.
Right.
Because for me, it's like Recess and like Doug and like The Weekender and stuff like that.
I've never even heard
All
of
the crappy
Weekenders.
We-
All the crappy ones. What about Darkwing Duck? Was that like in the same...
Darkwing was dope. I mean, I loved all of
Darkwing
those.
dope.
All those shows I watched too. But by the time I was watching, I was a kid actually watching them on Saturday morning. Those weren't on anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
It was
I'm-
like
we're actually
saw them retroactively, if
Right.
you will.
I'm the oldest brother, and he's the youngest, so that's the biggest span of like 6 years in between. 81 and 88. So 7 years.
I'm not good at math, but I believe that's 7.
Yeah.
And
What about your cereals? What kind of cereals did you like growing up? What was your favorite one? Like possibly one your parents didn't like to buy you?
Oh man, it's all about Golden Grahams. They were
Grahams good.
the golden calf, if you will.
yeah.
They were not allowed in our house though, really, because they're so expensive and come in such small boxes. So with 4 brothers, it's like they're gone like that.
They didn't have family size back then. Maybe?
No man, it's
They
like
would buy the
too-
ones
too
in the
rare.
bag, that's like the
Oh, the
knockoff.
off-brand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was fun. I would take anything I can get.
They were copper grams. They couldn't. They wouldn't have the full golden grams.
You know which ones I loved as a kid, and it didn't last long, was E.T. cereal.
Right.
Which is basically become like Reese's Peanut Butter Cup cereal, kind of tastes
Oh,
similar
maybe.
thing. Because I think they were going for like the Reese's from the movie.
Yeah. I don't think I ever had E.T. cereal. but
No, me
that's-
neither.
That's pretty
I mean,
good.
that's sad for me.
See why it didn't last for me.
Because Torrin Atkinson wasn't allowed in it.
Yeah.
How did you guys get into animation?
Nathan,
Well,
you're the oldest. You led the way.
I guess so. I always wanted to be an animator. You can go back to some of my like old like school reports from grade 4, and it's like I want to be an animator when I grow up. So I just kind of have always had that plan. So yeah, I just researched schools, and when I graduated, went to Vancouver Film School, and then I've since have worked in Vancouver mostly at all the
Right.
different studios, bounce around. There's lots of animation in town, luckily.
You worked on Cloud with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah, most recently with yourself.
With me,
And a fantastic crew.
It was a great crew. And Meatstick, who was our previous guest, was also on that crew.
Yep.
And so Ren and Stimpy, was that the second series?
That was, yes.
more racy
yes. The one that got canceled after 2 episodes.
What? Oh my.
I don't know how much. Well, you can buy like this unofficial book that is like gives all the dirt and all the stories on Ren and Stimpy. It's by this guy named Thad, and but yeah, they ended up going over budget. They blew their deadlines.
Right.
We were all like super excited when I came on to do it at Carbuncle Cartoons. It was being storyboarded and written down in LA. Come up here to Carbuncle, we would do most of the animation and then send in-betweens overseas. Back when they did that,
Yeah.
put all the paper into the FedEx boxes and stuff.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, always got to hit that 3:00 FedEx deadline.
And everyone goes home, right?
Yeah, I wish. But that was basically my first real animation job, and the only one I've ever done on paper. Before that, I did a few like Christmas specials here and there, but I was more of like an assistant or in-betweener.
So you didn't get in any shouting matches with John Crispaluzzi?
No. I answered the phone one time when he was there. I don't even know why I was answering the phone. Wasn't that somebody else's job? Don't let this guy near the phone. But yeah, it was super wacky, really fun studio to work with. There was a lot of like talented animators, and when we all came on, they're like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do a Ren and Stimpy movie, and then we're gonna do Ripping Friends.
Oh,
we're
which
gonna
is
bring
great.
that back.
Yeah.
And then like a couple episodes in, we're working on episode 3. The episode 2 is airing that week, and they're like, tune in next week for episode 3. We're like, I don't think this is going to be done in town. Especially since it was all like done like shipping
Yeah,
overseas and
old
all
school.
that kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun to work on.
Cool.
Silly drawings.
Silly drawings. Anything you're working on now that you'd like the people to know about?
We're keeping busy.
What was your first animation project?
Just nothing
Our own
ever.
stuff, I
Just
guess.
zero. I don't work in the animation industry,
Right.
really. I'm a good example of someone who has no cool stories about Ren and Stimpy.
But you worked on Soggy Flakes, and there's other stop motion stuff with
the
Foreshadow, or
independent world, yeah. So
Yeah.
the only animation experience I have is our own stuff, things that we have produced and written and directed and stuff like that, which is great, and I love it for sure. But it's not. I don't, because I was trained in live action. I don't work. My day jobs were never like at animation studios.
you hate cartoons, it turns out.
I just hate them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you met
No.
Keanu Reeves. That's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's my lame claim to fame. I mean, I work in the animation industry, but met Keanu one time.
Well,
So,
that's something.
Yeah. Nice guy.
But see if you can get him on the show.
We do have a YouTube channel called Comedy Blender, and we do like silly, goofy, more adult comedy on it. So we've got one series called Food Flicks that was pretty popular on there and won some awards. And
We like food shows.
we do like food. We kind of realize this for like a lot of our films have taken places in diners, wrapped around food. It's just a universal thing, I guess.
Everybody loves food.
right?
We have to.
Yeah.
Everybody's addicted.
Show me one person who hasn't eaten food before, and I'll show you a dead man.
So I've been letting my Frosted Flakes sit so I can get them appropriately
Yeah.
soggy.
They get soggy quite fast.
Yeah, there's not a huge crunch factor in Frosted Flakes. I think we all agree to that.
Yeah, totally. I used to not like the crunch because it would like dig into like my gums and stuff
your
like that. I wanted,
sensitive
I'm
gums.
sensitive gums.
Like Captain Crunch.
Yeah, so I wanted it to
Delicate
be
flour.
soggy. Like I would put milk in my cereal like easily 10, 15 minutes before I was actually going to eat it. And then put it aside, and then you come back and it's kind of like swollen and like becoming this like thing that doesn't even resemble the cereal.
like
that you
growing?
usually had. Yeah, it's like grown
It's
a
like
little
a big
bit.
Chinese dumpling.
If you let that happen to Raisin Bran, it was like inedible.
It's like Weetabix is kind of like that, where it's like if you try to eat a
Weetabix.
Weetabix out of the box, it's like disgustingly
Right.
like flaky and weedy, and you feel like a horse. You're like, why am I eating this? But once it gets soggy,
like a
then
horse.
you're like,
Right.
okay, now we're talking. Now I can actually like slice through it and eat it, and not like choke on it and like wheeze like. When you're like, stuff comes out. Yeah.
Well, thanks guys for coming on to Saturday Morning Cartoon Crunch.
Oh,
Thank you.
pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we'll see you next time on the internet. Yay!